Got the Canty Power Rankings gearing up for the second half of the NBA season, which is more like a sprint to the finish. The first half of the NBA season feels a little bit like a marathon. Everybody's pacing themselves. But now it's a sprint to the finish. Everybody's trying to be in the top six to avoid the play-in tournament. Everybody's jockeying for position in the standings to try to give themselves the easiest early round matchups once we get to the NBA playoffs. And of course, when we're doing that and we're having those conversations, it's also time to talk about who's going to win the most prestigious individual award in the NBA, the NBA MVP. So this week's Power Rankings is my top 5 NBA MVP candidates going into the second half of the regular season. You all ready?
Ready.
F?
Ready.
Jovante, without further ado.
Number 5.
Jalen Brunson. He's earned his second straight All-Star spot with 26 points per game and a career-best 7.5 assists per game on 49% shooting. He's played the 6th most minutes in the league, and when it comes to overall lift, it's hard to argue that any one player has more on a game-to-game basis than Jalen Brunson. New York is tied for the 4th most wins in the NBA, and a strong finish in the second half can help Brunson improve on his 5th place finish last season in MVP voting.
Is he definitely the most valuable player?
Yes.
On the I'm just making sure.
Yes, I had to think about this, and I'm glad you brought it up.
It's a compliment.
Karl Anthony Towns is balling.
Yeah.
The Knicks absolutely won that trade with Minnesota. But when it comes to creating offense, that's what I mean by overall lift. It's a term that Brian Windhorst uses on the Hoop Collective all the time. Shout out to those guys, big man, Bontemps, you guys are the best. But overall lift, when it comes to having to create offense for everybody on the court on a night-to-night basis, it's hard to argue that any one player in the NBA has to do that more than Jalen Brunson.
And they are, to your point, they are who they are because of him.
No doubt.
And their who right now, which in years past with the Knicks was not a good thing, is a great thing and the kind of thing that other teams want to emulate. Like, they have a great culture right now with the Knicks.
1,000% agree. Next.
Number 4.
Donovan Mitchell.
Ooh.
Let him know. Got to give Cavs some love on this one. Got to give Spider some love. He's 5th in the MVP voting according to Tim Bontemps' latest straw poll with people around the NBA. This season might not be Donovan Mitchell's best season from a statistical perspective, but his team is succeeding in large part due to him ceding some control of the offense while still being one of the best scoring guards in the entire league. He's got solid numbers at 25, 5, and 4 a game, but what puts him in the conversation for the most prestigious individual award in the league is that he's the unquestioned catalyst for a team that has had 2 separate win streaks of at least a dozen games and is tied for the best record in the NBA.
I'm glad that he's on this list. The Cavs have been remarkable this season, and as you mentioned, he's the engine that makes so much of this go. So he's definitely worthy of the top 5.
Yeah, we got to give him some love. I mean, Ev, I'm going to let you go, but here's the thing that I hate. When guys don't have the gaudy numbers, but their team doesn't do the overall winning. When they have the gaudy numbers, but their team does do the overall winning, we want to give them credit. But when guys recognize that them putting up 25, 30 shots a night is not going to put the team where they want to be, and they're actually winning games that way, we don't want to give them the credit because their overall averages are not on par with some of the best in the league. And I hate that, which is why I had to elevate Spider Mitchell in my power rankings.
I absolutely love Donovan Mitchell. He is the closest thing on and off court, in my opinion, to Dwayne Wade that we've seen, and I love Dwayne Wade, as you guys know. But Donovan Mitchell is A+ off the court. He's from kind of the general area that I'm from. People absolutely love this man, and it was a shock that he was traded to Cleveland. It was a shock that he stayed in Cleveland. It was a shock that he re-signed there, and it shouldn't be a shock based on all those things that I just said. To what CC is saying. Oh, we got Garland. Okay. We got Mobley. Okay. Now we got Hunter. How can I operate to make every one of these guys better? Just like Jalen Brunson. The who of Donovan Mitchell is as important as the what. He's awesome, and he deserves credit for being this awesome.
No question about it. Next.
Number 3.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. It could come down to health for Giannis, who's already missed 12 regular season games and would need to play in 23 of the remaining 29 games in order to meet the NBA's 65-game requirement to qualify for awards. He's missed the 6 games prior to the All-Star break with a calf injury, but the team is optimistic that he could return for the start of the second half on Thursday against the Clippers. On the season, Giannis is averaging 32, 12, and 6 on 60% shooting and is third in player efficiency rating despite being second in usage percentage. An outstanding overall campaign, Smalls, but I don't know if he's going to qualify for the NBA's awards because I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough down the stretch.
If he is, and if he does qualify, absolutely worthy of the nomination here. He's one of those guys that can absolutely dominate. He can activate that MVP mode. And you know when Giannis is right, he can carry his team across the finish line.
No doubt.
You guys remember before the season, the NBA Finals that I picked? Milwaukee over Denver. I'm not saying I'm going to be right. I'm also not saying I'm eliminated from contention.
No, you're not.
Giannis being third in MVP. Now, I picked Dame to win MVP, which Pat Costello likes to remind me of every so often of how bad of a pick that is.
All-Star MVP?
That would have been a better pick, I got to be honest with you. No, the NBA MVP. I'm just saying, like, you're right about Giannis. They're 29 and 24. They're not far away from the 4 seed right now. And we just praised Cleveland. But if Milwaukee's second round is against Cleveland, that's not going to be interesting that's not going to be good, for Cleveland. You'd much rather Indiana or Detroit in that spot. If you have to get Cleveland in the second round, if you have to get Milwaukee if you're Cleveland, not ideal.
Not ideal, but also not doable.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
We got to start giving this Cavs team a lot of credit. I think people are still on the fence, and they're chalking it up to teams not caring in the first half. But this Cavs team is legit, man. Just watch the way they play. They are a legit contender. Next.
Number 2.
Speaking of legit contenders, this guy is on one of the best teams, if not the best team in the entire NBA, and that would be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Ooh, number 2.
SGA is the current odds-on favorite to win MVP. He'd be the 7th straight foreign-born player to win the award. SGA is leading the league in scoring at 32.6 points per game on 52% shooting, along with averages of 5 rebounds a game, 6 assists a game, 1.9 steals per game, and 1 block a game. Only 5 players in NBA history have averaged 35, 5, 1, and 1 in a season. Michael Jordan, who did it twice, James Harden, who did it twice, Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Dwayne Wade. Pretty elite company if you're SGA. His team is tied for the best record in the league, and he has a net rating of 18.5 points per 100 possessions when he's on the floor for OKC, which is tops in the NBA. SGA checking in as second on my MVP power rankings.
I'm a little surprised. I thought SGA was going to be number 1.
You did?
I did. Not only because of how important he is when he's out on the floor, but his defense specifically. I thought he'd be number 1.
No.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled you did it the way you did it. Why don't we do number 1 and then I can react to both of them on that?
You know who's number 1?
Yes.
The Joker, Nikola Jokic. Career numbers across the board for the Joker with the exception of rebounds. He's averaging a triple-double, 30, 12, and 10 on 55% shooting. He's got 25 triple-doubles this season, 10 more than the next closest player. His team has overcome a disaster of a start with the Jamal Murray slump and Aaron Gordon missing a month and a half of basketball. With the second most wins in the conference, if they continue to close the gap with OKC in the final 27 games, we'll probably be talking about the historical significance of Jokic winning his 4th MVP in 5 seasons. So here go the Canty Power Rankings, my top 5 MVP candidates in the NBA. Nikola Jokic at number 1, SGA number 2, followed by Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, and Jalen Brunson. I will note there were 2 honorable mentions, Jason Tatum and Wemby.
Okay, those are my objections.
Tatum, the leading scorer on the 3rd best team in the NBA according to the standings, and Wemby, best defensive player in the entire game, but you can't be in my top 5 NBA MVPs when your team is 6 games below 500. So that's the list. Evan Cohen, your reaction.
So I absolutely love that you put Jokic 1. Now, the reason I love that is I am not 100% sure that if you took SGA off the Thunder, that they're not still a playoff team. They still may be a playoff or play-in team, and Denver has proven that if Jokic is not there, now, of course, they would play differently. They would have other players. I get all of that, the obvious points. Denver's a mess when he's not on the floor. They just are. He's top 5 in points, rebounds, assists. And he's a 7-foot center. And they're 36 and 19, and they may have the 2 seed behind Oklahoma City, but Oklahoma City's roster is loaded. You mentioned Gordon being hurt. You mentioned the early struggles from Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr., let's just say, not the most reliable guy in terms of every day, and especially on defense. Like, I think you got it right. I think a lot of people are going to think you got it wrong. I am totally with you. I stand by your side on Jokic over SGA. That's exactly where I would go. And I also, CC, tell me what you think about this. If Jokic never won the MVP before, I think he would be number 1 in most people's voting. But because we have a little bit of voter fatigue, let's say, we've seen it, done it, let's give it to SGA, I think that matters in this case.
1,000%. And to drive home your point about the impact of Jokic being on the court versus not on the court, the rating for the Denver Nuggets, plus 12 per 100 possessions when Jokic is on the court. When he's off the court, -7. 19 points win.
Ooh.